Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. Cousin Jared, this is hockey, episode
Yes.
1.
Yeah.
Hockey.
Yeah.
We're approaching at some point here 1,000 shows in our history, which is mind blowing. And all of them have been basketball, football, or baseball. And we are. I've been talking about building this hockey model. It's been doing great so far. I mean, what could go wrong?
As we say, this is a math show, small sample. Well, okay, it's a statistics show. I call math because numbers are all the same. And so small sample size, though, that is one thing that I know.
Yes, absolutely. And I've been preaching that. And what I've been preaching, if you're a hockey fan, you're new to the show, welcome. We do a bunch of other sports as well. We are kind of just now getting into the hockey part, but where we excel is math, and gambling is a lot of math and a lot of probability. And, some of the smartest people in the world that know sports really well don't do well betting them because it's about prices. And that's what's going to make your long-term profit or losses, right? So that's what we do well. If you've been with us for other shows, specifically been hanging around for college basketball, it's a current season we're in. There's only 3 games here on Friday night. And so we figured it'd be a great time to introduce the hockey show. We'll probably do this about once a week. And the biggest thing that I've wanted to emphasize with people is that when we have the grades on these picks, they are not quite the same level of confidence that you would normally be used to with our product. That is simply because we just don't have quite the track data to kind of know where the threshold should be set. We don't quite know where the model's biased yet. Overall, the model's done great so far, but it's a really small sample size. We're still doing a lot of learning, and we're all kind of just learning this out as we go. So excited for what it's done so far. Hopefully it can continue for us. And we have some doozies of some picks here for this Friday night. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I would say that I am at more of a disadvantage even than Sideline is, because I watch a lot of Sideline because I see the outputs every single day, and so I kind of know its strengths and weaknesses and can tell you when it's like, Sideline has too much of an affinity for that team, has too much of an affinity for totals with that team. Might want to exercise some extra caution here. I'm still learning all of those things as well. So hopefully the insight that I can provide will grow as the season goes along.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you're like, well, why should we be here? Well, you're here for the content, for the journey, for the learnings, and to say you've been on the ground floor of hockey, because honestly, this is not drastically different than what happened for the NFL model. Didn't have an NFL model last year, then built an NFL model in August. I was like, let's see what happens. And sure enough, it made us like so much money. And so we're kind of at the same point with NHL. I don't know if it'll be as successful as the NFL model. But, again, so far so good. Small sample, so I'm not trying to get too excited. And I don't want people to get too carried away, but it's been great. And the show's going to look a little different here because we recorded the night before, but we don't always know the goaling information. So we're going to dive into that. And it starts off right here with a very loaded first slide. So hang with me here, people. But Penguins at the Wild, and you see there's a lot of information here. What used to we try to keep this slide a little bit calmer, but we do know that Marc-Andre Fleury will be going for the Wild against his former team, the Penguins. That has been confirmed. You can see on the screen there, his rating is a 111. And as a reminder for everyone, or if you're new here, the grading system that I use is 100 is average, higher is more points, scoring, runs, whatever the event is, lower is less. So for offense, you want to be higher. For defense, you want to be lower. And for goalies, you want to be lower. So Fleury obviously passed his prime. I have him as the number 49th rated goalie on the 2 deep. That's out of all 64. I don't think anybody would be surprised that the Wild are not great on offense. They're decent on defense, and that's why they're kind of ho-hum middle of the pack. The Penguins are an interesting team. The model really likes them, at least relative to some of the other advanced metrics and other models that I've seen. We're pretty high on the Penguins, but we don't know who's going to be a goalie for them at this point. It's an interesting a situation with him having this is the first night of a back-to-back, and we just don't know if it'll be Tristan Jarry or Alex Nedeljkovic. Jarry is the first one listed there. He's an 87, the 12th best goalie according to Sideline. Nedeljkovic is very run-of-the-mill, gets a 100 grade, which puts him at number 37 out of 64. The Penguins are on the puck line favorite, and this is where this is so close to even money on the odds. There are some places where you would have Penguins plus 1.5, some minus 1.5, but we're looking at Penguins minus 1.5, and the probability they cover somewhere around 40%. It depends on which goalie's playing, but either way, it's a pretty decent edge. This is an A grade, and again, an A grade with a very young model, meaning maybe you don't go quite, maybe drop the unit size a little bit here relative to what you would trust from our product as an A grade. But the Penguins winning by more than a goal about 40% of the time would make plus 215, which is the current price for that. A pretty dang good investment. The break even for 40% is plus 150, and we're on one side or the other depending on which goalie plays. And at this point, it seems like a true toss-up 50-50 from everything I can see, at least as at the time of this recording, with regards to which guy is going. Cousin Jared, are you excited for your first hockey breakdown? Because we're coming at it right here, right now.
Yeah, you mentioned that doesn't really seem to matter who is going to be in goal for the Penguins. They're going to have the advantage over Marc-Andre Fleury for the Wild. So I thought you did a good job of hitting on that there. When you look at the defenses for both of these teams, I don't want to say negligible, but relatively even, not too much of an advantage for the Wild. But man, when you look at those offensive numbers, you got to like the Penguins' advantage that they have on offense in this one, which I think lends itself to why you lay the goal and a half with the Penguins. But the thing that stuck out to me when I was looking at this one is the Wild have not been good at home. Last 10 games, 2-8 in their last 10 home games. 5 of those losses by at least 2 goals. And so they have not been a great team to back at home this season. They played 2 nights ago. The Penguins had an extra day off. I think that the Penguins win this one. I think there's too much value on laying the 1.5 goals as opposed to taking it on the money line, just because the Wild have shown they can lose by a lot at home, and the Penguins offensively can put up a lot of goals on the Wild.
And of course, as part of the benefit of being on Dub Club with us, you get all the information. And depending on which goalie it is for the Penguins, we put the Penguins in the upper 50% likelihood of winning. That would make something like the current price of Penguins, what I'm seeing is about minus 110, minus 115, a pretty strong play as well. It's just that the puck line advantage is even bigger. And was kind of playing through today with how do we determine which one to play? And it's a combination of what's more likely to happen and where the bigger edge is. And the intersection of that here puts us on the Penguins. Obviously, you could play a little bit safer. We did a lot in baseball. We did a lot of minus ones. So that's something I haven't yet looked into with hockey. It's too early for me to do that. But a minus one market, which exists in the Wild, if you can go find it. Out there, you can just literally bet it. Or what we did a lot of times in baseball, we created that market by betting to win a certain amount of dollars on in baseball, the run line, hockey, the puck line. And then we risked an exact same amount on the money line. And so we were able to, or vice versa, I can't remember how we played it out, but we were able to kind of manufacture it. And so something like a minus one, if it's you just find it's easier, of course, might be another way to look. But again, the value here, a little bit strong on the Penguins. How did I determine that value? Actually created a simulation using all of our mathematical models and principles where everything's pure mathematical until the very end of the game. And that's where the simulation holds, where the simulation kicks in and says, what's likely to happen with empty net goals, overtime, etc., because that's where things don't really quite follow the same nice and simple mathematical principles as the rest of the game. And that's where we've determined on this one that the empty net possibility is making the Penguins just a little bit more valuable on the puck line, the money line, but either way we like them. It doesn't matter which goalie goes. You can see, though, of course, we like them better if it's Yari naturally than if it's Nedeljkovic. And the other thing, of course, I want to talk about this is the total. Kind of liking the total over as well. Right now, it is 6 minus 110. If it's Yari in net, that would be a B grade because the probability it goes over is about 57%. And of course, you need about 53% just to break even. So it'd be a good edge, but it flips from a B plus to an A minus if it's Nedeljkovic, because we think it's more likely that there's more goals, of course, with a weaker goalie. And so this would be a stronger over if Nedeljkovic is in net. If it's Yari, it would still be an overlook. It's the only total that we're going to talk about today because the other two totals, the model thinks are priced spot on. And so we would kind of be looking at the over. The over is one I definitely want to wait on the goalie before we do anything versus I'm fine locking in the Penguins now. It doesn't really matter which goalie. If it's Yari, great, even better. No reason not to be even more excited about it. Because Jared, any final thoughts on this game before we move forward?
And on a short slate, I definitely wouldn't have any issues with going over a number like 6. I have a lot to. I can still learn a lot about hockey, but one thing I know: 6. Tons of outcomes with 6 goals in a game. And so we talk a lot in baseball at push protection on certain key numbers. 6 is definitely one of those in hockey. And so, a lot of push opportunity there. And then, like you said, some upside with the potentially going over there.
Yeah, more times than not, a game gets to 4-2 and you think there's going to be an empty netter and it doesn't quite happen. And it's typically, if the game is 4-2 towards the end of the game, you'll typically get the empty netter. It's where it's 3-2, you get the empty netter and it stops at 4-2 because the team gives up. We actually had this on Thursday night in a game that stopped at 4-2. Of course, so the flip side of that, and the reason we like to go over more than under that is if it gets to 3-3, that's the fun hockey math and baseball, of course, too, where 3 + 3 can get you to 7 because somebody will have to be credited with another goal because they do not end in ties. So we'll definitely be leaning over 6, looking over 6. Want some goal confirmation there. Cousin Jared, we are, as you can see on the screen, proudly sponsored by BetUS, and they also do have hockey bets. I know people are probably surprised to hear that, but they're in the hockey market as well, along with college basketball market, every market, in fact. All sorts of fun markets that you can't even get in the domestic. So a lot of reasons to check out BetUS, most of which free bets, a 125% bonus. Link in the description to sign up. We encourage you to check that out if you're looking for an extra sportsbook. We always encourage people to shop around and get the best price, and having an offshore like BetUS can be very beneficial in that regard. And as always, again, we'll be back here after this short message from our sponsor, BetUS.
BetUS, America's favorite sports book, where you can bet on everything anytime. Sportsbook, live betting, and casino. To celebrate 30 years in business, we have the best bonuses in the industry. Get a 125% sign-up bonus and up to 30 risk-free bets. So what are you waiting for? Join now. BetUS, where the game begins.
Rangers and the Blackhawks at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Blackhawks, not the worst offense in hockey, according to Sideline. That would go to the Sharks. Not the worst defense. That would go to the Blue Jackets. But, man, when your second worst offense is second worst defense, that does not bode well for your team. Obviously, part of that's Connor Bedard being out. He's very good. Now, he's not going to change the entire fortunes of the franchise, but you don't have a lot of talent. You lose.
Well, if we have
it matters.
If we have any Chicago fans listening, don't take that to the bank. He is going to transform your franchise and bring y'all completely back.
There you go. Sure. There you go. More goalie questions on this one. And folks, Cousin Jared and I have talked about this. We're probably going to bump the hockey show up a night where we're doing it for Thursday night games where there's more options, so we don't have to have this dilemma. But it is fun to talk about here. Not goalie dilemmas because of a back-to-back. Goalie dilemmas because we don't actually know what the Rangers are doing in goal. You can see 2 numbers on there. It's Jonathan Quick and Igor Shesterkin. Shesterkin is, the franchise goalie, the guy under the long-term contract who's been fantastic in years past. He's not bad. He's still doing very well. And Sideline has him as the 20th best goalie, but Jonathan Quick, with a resurgence at the end of his career, has been fantastic. And Sideline rates him as the 10th best goalie right now. He started the last 3 games. And if you listen to anybody in the New York media, it sounds like, hey, there's no goalie controversy. Jonathan Quick should be the guy. They got to win. And it is what it is. He won't play every game, though, and this feels more like a 1A, 1B situation where I would have said maybe a couple of weeks ago Shesterkin was the 1A, Quick is the 1B. Now I kind of think it's flipped. All that to say, we don't really know what's going to happen in this game. This might be a good night to give Quick off. A little bit older, playing against the Blackhawks, why not? But also, if he's your guy, why not ride with your guy? So we don't know who's going to play for the Rangers. They're favored to win. Overall, they're very okay. This is some fun, small sample size stuff with the ratings there because their offense and defense rank in the middle of the pack, even though they both rate above average. I think it's kind of interesting. side note there, but they're much better on offense. They're much better on defense. They're better at goal. Like, obviously, like the Rangers should be favored. They are on the road, and that takes away a little bit, but not a ton. Here's the thing, though, is the price of this. We're getting the Blackhawks at plus 240. If they win this anywhere near the upper 30%, as the model would indicate, this is a fantastic play. Even if they only win this 1 out of 3 times, and that would say that the model is off a little bit and the Blackhawks aren't as good as the model thinks, sure. Maybe the Rangers are a little bit better than the model thinks, sure. And they win it 1 out of 3 times, the break even for that's plus 200. So plus 240 offers pretty good value on the Blackhawks. Of course, you could take the puck line, take the plus 1.5 if you want. The model thinks the edge there is actually a little bit smaller, and so it might just be worth the flyer on the Blackhawks at this big price. You can see there on the ticker at the bottom, we're risking less than a full unit to win more than 2. So it's not like it's a huge investment to take a flyer in the Blackhawks. We don't think it's more likely than not they win. We're not saying they do win. We're just saying it's not impossible that they win. And because, Jared, I think you have some numbers to back up the fact that it is possible the Blackhawks can win this game. It would not be the weirdest thing in sports.
No, it would not be the strangest thing. I want to talk about maybe when you look at the absolute records of these teams, definitely advantage Rangers, of course, because the Blackhawks are not good. Rangers 67 points, 6th most in hockey this season. 15-9-3 on the road. 15 wins, 12 losses. So they're good. I mean, that's solid that's solid. But not just like over the moon, absolutely unbelievable, anything like that. The Blackhawks, I have a hard time imagining that you would be able to come up with a team that has worse or more drastic home road splits than this team does. Blackhawks 4-23-1 on the road. Not great.
Insane.
That is insane. It's like the Oakland A's reincarnated. 10-12-1 at home though. Like this Blackhawks team has some spunk at home. And you mentioned they're talking about the goalie matchup. So Mrazek at home has been much better, as you would probably imagine from the Blackhawks record, has been much better at home than he has been on the road. He has a 93% save percentage at home, only allowing 2.3 goals a game, where you compare that to his road record. His save percentage is 3 points less, giving up over a goal more per game on the road than he is at home. So some pretty crazy splits there. I am not convinced, because of those splits, that if Shesterkin is actually starting for the Rangers, I'm not sure that this goalie matchup is even for the Rangers and the Black. Obviously, you mentioned Quick's playing well. Quick starting, I think the Rangers still have the advantage, but Shesterkin, not as sure. Anyway, all of this to say, Blackhawks, I think, are really underrated at home. You're telling me I'm getting plus 240. That's just way too good odds to pass up.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the bottom line. And of course, if you've been with us for any time, we long have discussed these exact concepts here. That we aren't trying to say that we're going to win every plus odds pick. We're even going to win half of them. But at plus 240, the math works out where we don't have to win anywhere near half of them for this to be an advantageous play. And of course, the Blackhawks can get crushed. But again, plus 240, that's fine. We win 1 out of 3 plays at plus 240, and we're doing great. And that's kind of what the model is telling us, why there's value in this in the long term. Now, of note, Cousin Jared, my father, your uncle, is in Nevada here for the weekend. They go a few times a year. And I will not be telling him to play this Blackhawks on the money line, because he goes there once every, 3 times a year for 3 or 4 days. And he's talking about a small sample size. So it's a little bit of a different perspective. I'm guessing you're doing this because you're betting hockey night in and night out. And if you're making multiple bets, that's where the plus 240 comes into value here. If you're betting one night only, it's a little bit different of a calculus, right? But if you're betting one night only, you're probably not searching YouTube to find betting advice shows. So we're talking about night in and night out. That's where the value happens. And we're going to have nights where we take multiple plus 240 picks and both of them lose, all 3 of them lose, whatever. And then we're going to have nights where they both accidentally win and it's going to make up for it. And so it's the long run where the value comes. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. Nobody does. But the price of this in the long term makes it a profitable wager. This number should be a little bit lower. I think people are starting to get a little carried away with the Rangers. I'm not saying they're not good. And I'm not saying the Blackhawks aren't bad. It's just hockey's a little bit more random than this. And so the dog has a chance to win. You mentioned the Oakland A's, and they're a team that we found ourselves backing a handful of times here this last MLB season in the right circumstances, and we made some money off of that. It doesn't mean we were doing it every single night. And that's the same thing here. Maybe we don't back the Blackhawks every single night, but we did back them here against the Wild here a couple nights ago at +1.5. And that worked out for us. So if you want to do the same thing here, take the +1.5. That makes a lot of sense. Model thinks the edge is slightly better, though, on the money line.
And you talked about, sample sizes, and I would throw in there like regression to the mean and everything. I would not be surprised if we are backing the Blackhawks more than a few times on the road specifically, because I understand that they may not be a good hockey team, but 423-1 on the road, that's just like, that's almost like the outside of what is, how many standard deviations away from the mean would that be, even for like a bad hockey team? So anyway, if you're new to our channel here for hockey, just be prepared. There might be a lot of plays like this, and just focus on, you just got to win like 38% of them.
Or even a little bit less, so we're totally fine. And that's what we always talk about, the A grades. Again, not saying that we would run to the bank with them, but maybe playing them at half our normal wages would be kind of my thought on it. Is that we like the A grades because we have that cushion. Even if we win this 37% of the time, we're great. If we win it 33% of the time, we're still great. 1 out of 3 of these is all we're looking for. And that'll take us to our last game. And again, a sneak peek of the NHL cheat sheet. And you can see there is a lot of information there, folks. If you like to bet team totals, this is the type of information you get for each and every game. If you like to bet alternate totals, you can see there at the bottom of the screen. You can bet puck line, reverse puck line, all sorts of goodies. You can see there we have Calvin Pickard for the Oilers confirmed already night before. John Gibson is the expected starting goalie. We have not confirmed that, but as with Mrazek, we kind of expect those two guys to go. The only real question mark we have, in my opinion, are the two that we've talked about. You can see the grades. They're all sorts of information. And we have this similar setup with the Ducks as we do the Blackhawks. We're going to be backing some ugly hockey teams from time to time, and these definitely qualify. Of course, the Oilers coming off of their first loss in 912 games. Don't check me on the math there. And who knows how they're going to look coming into this. The model isn't considering that whatsoever. What the model is considering is just the price of the probability. And that's what the model and the simulations have done, and says that the probability that the Ducks either win this at massive plus odds or covers the +1.5 at reasonable odds is worth a shot. This is very similar to the Blackhawks. If you take the money line, the Ducks would be an A grade. If you take the puck line, you're looking at a B grade. I don't know the right answer as to which one to pick. It's probably personal preference, but Cousin Jared, we feel a little more comfortable shifting to the puck line here on the Ducks rather than the Blackhawks. I'm curious your reasons. And my thought is the Oilers just don't allow a lot of goals. There's a real chance this game's like 2-1 late, and then we're just hoping to hang on and not have anything that'll hurt us. It was kind of my thought. Maybe it's 1-1 late, and then it goes to overtime. We don't have to care. To me, the Ducks +1.5 seems a little bit safer, but you could treat it just like the Blackhawks and just say, hey, I'm just going to go with 3 +220 +240, whatever picks, as long as one of them wins or profitable, if you want to, whatever your risk tolerance is. Because, Jared, why do you like the puck line here a little bit more than the money line?
Well, the first thing is that I was watching an Oilers game the other night, and I heard them say that they had not given up more than 2 goals in a game in like 20 straight games. And I was like, I had to have misheard that. Like there was no way that was real. I mean, this is real. Yeah. I don't. This isn't like, I can't remember how long ago. It was, like 10 years ago when like all the goalies had the huge pads, and before they kind of started making some of the rule changes to open up the scoring. Again.
Back when the 2-line pass was illegal, right? Yeah, there was a time when hockey was like every game can be 2-1, and we're totally fine with that, even though everyone no one really loves the 2-1 game.
Yeah. Like growing up, that was commonplace. So anyway, I heard that, and I was like, this can't be right. They must be talking about like this specific goalie when playing in this building during the months of November to January. But no, No, the Oilers had just been playing lights out defense as of recent. And so that's the number one thing. To your point, I think that there is a distinct possibility that the Ducks only score 1, maybe 2 goals in this game. And so then I think that 1.5 gives us a better opportunity to be profitable as opposed to, the Ducks score like 3 or 4, which probably isn't going to happen. So that was the first thing. But Anaheim on the season at home, 15-12 when they were getting 1.5 goals. They're not a great team, but they can stay close in games at home. But the more interesting thing to me was the Oilers on the road. They have exactly 1 road win. Well, even with that amazing streak of giving up very few goals, they have exactly 1 road win in that stretch where they have, won by more than 1 goal. They have this calendar year, they have 3 1-goal wins on the road. They have 1 2-goal win, and they have an outright loss. And so on the road specifically, the Oilers just haven't been blowing teams out. They've been playing close games, and they've been winning them. But the key is they've been winning them by 1 goal. It's almost as if they just kind of start packing it back on the defense when they get a lead in these games on the road and just try to come out with some points. So, I give me 1.5. I check back in the morning, see what Sideline says for those of you with us on Dub Club. This may be, hopefully, obviously, gets to an A grade on the puck line. If I had to choose between an A grade on the money line or a B grade on the puck line in this game, I may still lean towards the puck line as in the 1.5 goals.
And of course, you can see on the screen the A grade threshold there for the plus 1.5 for Anaheim is even money. Right now, it's minus 110. So, of course, you could always wait, look for a better price, personal preference there, et cetera. Because, Jared, I think the frustrating thing for me, and we're heading into baseball season, so we're about to enter the same situation. This is something just every bettor has to figure out and deal with is the what if and what I could have done and what I should have done. And we have to figure out how to live with ourselves and not play that game, because here's the thing is when you make a bet, or for our standpoint, right, when we're up here talking about it, because when you make a bet and whatever you do, you just got to live with it yourself. I got to live with it, and however many hundreds or thousands of people are watching the show too. Yeah. But it's sometimes frustrating because when I go on record here and I'm saying we like the Ducks plus 1.5 more, well, if the Ducks win the game, we'll be sitting here going, well, we should have just taken them on the money line. And if the Ducks lose by more than 2, you say, well, you missed it anyway, right? Or the same thing with the Blackhawks. How about that? We took them on the money line. If they lose by 1, you should have taken them on the puck line. And it's just a good reminder what we were always talking about. We talked about it last night at the college basketball show. We can't let the results affect our thinking, because then we start running into some weird situations where we say, oh, well, we should have played, over 12.5 goals or something in a high scoring game one night or whatever. And it's like, no, that's you can't focus on that. You just have to focus on the best thing you think at the time, figure out your process, trust your process, et cetera. But, it is interesting here. We are splitting our between money line and puck line here on our 2 dogs and how we think best for the reasons we think, because Jordy made a great point there. The Ducks 15-12 on the puck line at home, getting a goal and a half. Yep. 15-12, at minus 110 would be profitable. Yep. And that's kind of what the model is seeing. Now, the model didn't look at that at all. That's not part of the model. The model's a player-based model, just like for all my models, so we can account for injuries, et cetera. And so it's not like the model looked at it. But if that was your handicap and you just said, did 15 divided by 27 and said that percentage at minus 110, that's a decent bet. Not the best bet you can make potentially, but a solid one. And so it kind of actually aligns. I like that you brought that point up. I think similarly, the money line probably makes sense from a value perspective. It's just, is that value that you want to stomach? Everyone's got to figure that out for themselves. Similar to Penguins, you can take a +1.
Yeah. That's that option. That's just what I was going to say, that like, maybe that's the best of both worlds for this one. It kind of worked the numbers there. But I would just have a hard time going straight money line on
No, I would too. I completely am the same, but especially with the Oilers. Now, the asterisk this, we don't know how the Oilers are going to come out after that losing their big winning streak. I think they'll probably be okay. You heard a lot of the chatter from them here in recent weeks about how they struggled out the gate so much and the mentality and their back up against the wall or whatever. And so my hunch is they're going to go right back to that. That's not going to change. And they're going to talk about, building back up a new winning streak, right? So I don't necessarily think there'll be any hangover, but it's not impossible. You never know. It's such a unique situation because we've not seen a team have a winning streak like that long in whatever 20 years now, and so it's kind of a unique setup there. But the Ducks, we think, if nothing else, what we're trying to say, I guess, viewers, that we're saying it's Ducks or pass. The Oilers probably wouldn't be a team to bet on at the prices that are being offered, because you're going to win some games, but in the long run, if you're betting the Oilers at the current prices they're at, the ones you lose, you're going to lose more than you're making. You're going to slowly be draining your bank account, and that holds for money line or puck line, because the Oilers winning by one game, as you mentioned with the Oilers in the streak, all the games they've won by one, is on the table, as is accidentally losing, because again, hockey's random bounces, random posts, etc. Completely change things around. So
and don't let the ending of the winning streak distract you from the fact that they also won 8 games in a row from the end of November until the middle of December. They were 24-3 prior to their last loss in their last 27 games.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's streak ending or not, they have just been on fire since the end of November at this point.
Yeah, there's a reason that the model has them as the overall best team in hockey. And so the reason to fade the Oilers is not because the model doesn't realize they're good. I've got them literally, when you combine in the expected goalie play, and honestly, whether it's Picard or Skinner, I think both these guys are very decent. They're both very okay. They're both an upgrade over what they were getting from Jack Campbell, of course.
Yeah.
They have solid goaltending, as you mentioned. They have good defense. Of course, they have great offense. I've got them as the best team in hockey, so we're not fading them because we don't think they're good. We're fading them because the prices they're at is oftentimes, if you are a season bettor at all, you are well aware that if you back the best team every night, you're probably going to end up losing money, other than in random circumstances. But more times than not, you're going to lose money in the long run. Yep. So it's Ducks or pass for us. We're going to try the puck line, and it'd be great and see how that plays out for us. And usually this is the part of the show where I would say, join us on Dub Club, get the extended cut, because there's no extended cut today, because those are all 3 hockey games. There are 3 college basketball games, and we're not going to talk about them. But you get these picks, this information every single day for NHL and college basketball. And if you sign up using the promo code there on screen, the QR code there, or the link in the description, you get $5 off your first month. There's your recap, Cousin Jared. Parting words at the end of our first ever YouTube hockey show.
Disney has been in the news a lot lately. So you may have seen they kind of came together with who is it? Fox.
Is that real? I kind of thought that was fake. I didn't.
Yeah. Fox. Yeah, Fox and whoever it is. I'm forgetting who.
TNT. Warner Brothers. TNT.
Yes. They are coming together to have a streaming package where you can kind of just get all sports channels together. So that made the news. Then at their earnings call yesterday, I believe it was, they announced that ESPN, basically you'll just be able to get all the ESPN channels now beginning in the fall of 2025. So a year and a half from now, you will be able to just buy ESPN separately and stream ESPN, not ESPN Plus, but like ESPN, ESPN2, all that separately. They announced they're buying like a $1.3 billion stake in Epic Games, which some people who play video games, I'm sure will love to hear that. But the most important thing that you should know is March 15th, exclusively on Disney Plus, you will be able to watch Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. And so that is the number one thing. Anybody who lives with a woman or has a 5-year-old child that might be obsessed with Taylor Swift, put it on your calendar, March 15th, exclusively on Disney Plus. Disney Plus, if you want to sponsor us, by all means. But yeah, Taylor Swift, all the other Disney news, all that matters, Taylor Swift, March 15th.
I mean, I like Taylor Swift, so I'm probably going to be watching.
I will also watch. May or may not have seen it in theater as my daughter was dancing down in front of the screen and everything. She'll be watching it constantly. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm probably going to be tired of Taylor Swift by time.
That's the way kids go, though. everything, but you get tired of it. Yeah. I was able to surprise Mrs. Professor with Taylor Swift tickets when she comes to Indianapolis.
Nice.
I think we're in the stage of she's debating if she wants to watch the Eras Tour before we go to concert now, because that's kind of like a whole thing now, since it'll be the same concert, since apparently it was that epic. I was going to go the other hand, and I know that other people are making the joke, but I have to continue to make it myself, because it's just worth repeating that now that we're able to be able to go to one streaming package to watch all of our sports. If they just could package that with other things we might be interested in, put maybe 30 channels together for one package, and then maybe like an add-on package where we get like 60 channels, and maybe like a super one where we get like 100 and pay different things like that all in one app. That might be the future of television. So people, of course, put that in your hoppers. That may be where we're heading. I know it's a brave and bold new world out there, but that could be something on the horizon that I'm sure no one has ever thought of. That'll wrap us up here for our first ever hockey show. We're back every week with hockey, and we will continue to do college basketball as well through March Madness, and then right on to baseball. So a lot of good times ahead here. Check us out on Dub Club. Check that link out in the show description. Check out BetUS if you have not already yet and are looking for another sports book. Otherwise, as always, thank you for watching, and we will see you later.